From an absurd dancing turkey to a masked-up cackling deck collector, these are the most ridiculous wrestlers we've ever seen in WWE history. When it comes to insane spectacles, the world of professional wrestling is unrivaled in its ability to drum up the craziest drama. But for that, you need the craziest characters you can think of. Shocking costumes and super weird gimmicks are staples for this sort of thing. But sometimes, the WWE's creative attempts at entertaining fans don't quite work out as they hope. Take, for example, the Gobbledygooker. Back in 1990, the WWE hatched an elaborate plan to introduce a new character to its lineup, and it all started with an egg. In the fall of that year, a huge dinosaur-sized egg was repeatedly teased on WWE programming, leaving fans clamoring to see what would emerge. The promotion gave nothing away, except that all would be revealed in the Survivor Series pay-per-view event. Speculation mounted as to what might emerge from this mysterious egg. Maybe a gorgeous new character would burst from the shell, or perhaps a future WWE champion might rise from the cracks. These hopes would soon be dashed when, on the night of the event, instead of a blonde bombshell or a strapping new talent, a man dressed in a ridiculous turkey costume broke out of this oversized and overhyped egg. Unsurprisingly, this Thanksgiving dinner was greeted with a hail of boos from disappointed fans. As he went on to dance a bizarre number with WWE commentator Mean Gene Okerlund, you won't be surprised to find out that after the terrible reception this character received, the promotion scrapped the unfortunate Gooker, who's only gone on to make an appearance again at the Battle of the Gimmicks in 2001. If you ask me, that's the only place the Gooker deserves to perform. Speaking of short-lived gimmicks, our next wrestler character has to be one of the most ridiculous personas to ever come out of the WWE. I'm talking about Mike Shaw's Friar Ferguson, who made his debut back in April of 1993. Needless to say, this monk was definitely not what you'd expect from a man of the cloth. The 385-pound man walked out wearing a brown robe, accompanied by ominous chanting music. With a horseshoe of hair stuck to his bald head and thick eyebrows painted on, the Mad Monk was a sight to behold. But his character was a bit confusing, downing sacramental wine and performing silly dances during his match. Understandably, the Friar wasn't a huge favorite with the fans.
We are told that we're going to have a word with Money Incorporated following this matchup concerning the tag team match that is going.
And after the Catholic Church of New York complained about the character, Friar Ferg was soon dropped by the WWE. But while Mike Shaw might have had to stick some fake hair on, at least he didn't have to wear a fake head like Mike Halleck, who had the less-than-fun gig of playing the infamous character of Mantar. Inspired by the Greek myth of the Minotaur, Mantar was a half-man, half-bull character who would make bizarre mooing noises and charge toward his opponents.
Trying to wait a minute.
Whoa. He'll gore you. Watch it.
That, coupled with cow-like trampling, seemed to be this character's main specialties. The fake bull head that Halleck had to wear was so big, he'd often knock it off his head as he tried to fumble his way into the ring. To be honest, I'm surprised that Mike managed to make it to the ring. It's a miracle he could even see out of that thing at all. If you can believe it, Mike managed to play this character for a full year before finally leaving the WWE, after which the character was retired. I'm not sure if the WWE made that decision, or if they just couldn't find anyone to replace him. Clearly, the WWE will draw inspiration from almost anywhere to build a character. Did you know that one of their most ridiculous personas was based on sci-fi anime? Yep, you heard that right. Max Moon made his WWE debut in the early 90s, and the ridiculous character had a short-lived stint in the promotion's performances. And it's easy to see why. With a brightly colored, tacky-looking costume that reportedly cost $13,000 to make, Max Moon, also known as the Comet Kid, had the backstory of a cyborg from space that could shoot pyrotechnics from his arms. The man who came up with this brilliant character, Conan, played him for only a few weeks before leaving the WWE due to ongoing issues backstage. Paul Diamond took his place, but not even he could keep this intergalactic disaster alive.
Look at this. Max Moon was going to come out on him as well, and Michaels, he does it. Whoa! Unbelievable!
$13,000 went down the drain as the poor Max Moon was scrapped for good not long after. Even though the Comet Kid was a tad bit over the top, you can see where the promotion was coming from. A man from space with special powers, how could the kids not love him? But if there's one thing for sure, it's that everybody hates going to the dentist, which makes the creative inception of this character all the more questionable. Introducing Dr. Isaac Yankem DDS. This unusual character was played by Glenn Jacobs, and his role was simply to do the dirty work for another famous wrestler, Jerry the King Lawler. Lawler would call in the maniacal dentist to torture his opponents while he stood cackling in the background. And while Dr. Yankem was an imposing figure with a funky name, Yankem, get it? Many fans were left bored by his long and elaborate scenes. And even though we all hate going to the dentist, dental scrubs don't exactly strike fear into our hearts now, do they? Dr. Yankem debuted in 1995, only to be scrapped in 96, and Glenn Jacobs would go on to play Mayor Kane, a more successful character. Good for you, Glenn. As we've just seen, the WWE has no problem taking an everyday job like being a dentist and trying to twist it into a larger-than-life character that can entertain millions of fans. If you thought Dr. Isaac Yankem was a stretch, wait until you get a load of this guy, Repo Man. He's gotta be one of the most ridiculous characters to ever enter the ring. First, let's start with his ingenious backstory. You guessed it, Repo Man was an evil repossession man. A nasty debt collector who went around stealing other wrestlers' things when he felt they were behind on their payments. Wearing a mask reminiscent of Zorro, which seems completely random by the way, Repo Man skulked around the ring with a tow rope in hand, doing his best to give off a creepy vibe. This bizarre character should have made one appearance and been banished to the pile of unsuccessful gimmicks that the WWE accumulated. But surprisingly, Repo Man managed to stick around for a few years, even securing big feuds with the likes of the British Bulldog Virgil and the Big Boss Man. Repo Man's most ridiculous rivalry, though, was with Macho Man Randy Savage. Repo Man stole one of Randy's trademark cowboy hats, and the two settled the debt in the ring WWE style. With Savage getting the better of Repo Man and finally getting his hat back, just saying it out loud is making me cringe. But the fans like what the fans like, and Repo Man managed to make quite a few pay-per-view appearances before the character was scrapped in 1993. Not bad for a silly gimmick based on an everyday job. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. From failed sci-fi fiascos and $13,000 suits to monks who chug Sacramento wine and dance the Charleston. Those were the most ridiculous wrestlers we've ever seen in WWE history.